Today we're going to be doing a review that kind of surprises me that I actually haven't done yet. Today we're going to be reviewing the Flair Pro 2, one of the things that I've been using almost on a regular basis for the past year and a half, almost 2 years now, of just making my morning espresso for me and my wife. But before we do that, I just want to say welcome to Cabin's Coffee Corner. This channel is designed to help you choose the coffee gear for a better home brewing experience. So in this channel, you'll find a lot of different reviews and comparison of different coffee gear that I have used, that I use on a regular basis here at home to make the best quality coffee that I can possibly do. So to continue to help me produce videos, I ask that you would do a few things. The first two are free, that you would subscribe and like this video. Subscribing and liking this video helps me produce more content and get it out to more people and continue to produce more things. The third thing I'd ask you to do is, if you're looking at buying any coffee equipment, please use the affiliate links below in the description. These affiliate links are links that I get a slight amount of commission for the products that you're gonna buy, but it's not gonna cost you anymore. So what this is gonna do is it's gonna provide me a little bit more of an income to help buy things like the Flair Pro 2 and things like a robot and things that will help me compare and contrast different equipment for you to have the best knowledge and understanding of what equipment you want to buy. So please use those affiliate links. It helps me out so much. And the last thing is, if you are considering, if you really like these videos, if you find them really helpful, consider supporting me on Patreon. On Patreon, you get to have a say of what videos I'm going to be producing out. You're going to be able to give feedback and your opinions on what you want to see and what comparisons you want to see, as well as there's also a potential chance that you could win free gear that I will be reviewing on this channel. So I'll buy something for this channel, review it, and then I'll send it out to one of my Patreon subscribers. The last thing is, you can now follow me on Instagram. I have an Instagram account specifically for this YouTube page with all my coffee gear and some of the brewing stuff that I do in the mornings. You can follow me at Cabin's Coffee Corner. There's a link also in the description for that. I also have a couple more videos coming up here soon. I'm going to add the one most significant mod that you can do to the Flair 2, and I'm going to add a smart espresso profiler, which is this very expensive Bluetooth transmitter to this. There's also going to be comparison between this and the Cafe Let robot coming up soon, so please subscribe and stay tuned. Now let's go ahead and dive into this. As I said, this is the brewer that I've been using for almost 2 years now on a regular basis. This is the Flair Pro 2. My model is just a little differently because this is actually the first Flair Pro, but I ended up upgrading the basket and a few things on it like that. So the only difference between this and the Flair Pro 2 is the Flair Pro 2 has a handle on, or a grip on this handle, but other than that, it's the same thing. This comes in at $310 is the current price for this, and I just want to give you the pros and cons and what I like and don't like about this. So I want to start with a little bit of an overview. This is $310 and it comes with a traveling case. I don't travel a ton, but I have brewed this in different places like hotel rooms, when I go over to my parents' house and go visit friends and family. I once brewed this on the side of a canyon in 19-degree weather, and I ended up breaking the pressure gauge because of heat for that. You can see a picture there about it. I've also brewed this hiking in a lot of different various places, so there's definitely pros and cons. The weight of this comes in at, I believe, around 7 pounds with the case and everything in it. So let's just go ahead and start with a few things. We're going to start with the frame and what I like and don't like about it. So this frame actually comes apart into 2 separate pieces. On the bottom of it, there is a little Allen key, or Allen bolt, and you just simply unscrew that and the frame comes apart, so it can collapse inside this little case that can go inside of a backpack or in some luggage or things like that, and it protects it pretty well. I did manage to get a scale and a small hand grinder in that bag as well, so you can get the Flair and basically everything you need to brew in there. It is a little hard to get the screw back in. It's just like you have to line the frame up perfectly, but you can brew without the bolt inside of it, so it works pretty well that way. I usually have it in because it's on my counter at all times. The next thing is, throughout the Flair, there are a lot of little silicone pads. There's one right there, one on the tip, and a few on the bottom. There's 6 on the bottom. I've been missing one since I bought this. I actually bought this used from somebody for a good price, and I upgraded that way. I like those, but I also don't like those. It doesn't give the amount of support that I wish it would. It does wobble a little bit. It can slide around a little bit easier. The ideal way that would have been to do this would have been more expensive, but if they would have made a huge, like, basically a silicone pad all around it that was based onto the base. These you can kind of pull out, and they've fallen out on me before. I've had to pick them up off my kitchen. But if you had a silicone grip the entire way around, I feel like that would really, really help the stability and the support of it. But it does get the job done, and it does work pretty well. The next thing is the drip tray. The drip tray is 2 pieces. It's stainless steel. I mean, it's okay. It's a drip tray. There's nothing really to it. However, I have had an issue. I don't know if this is because of the stability or of the drip tray and it moving back and forth, or the frame, or what that is, or the fact that this is kind of a narrow machine, so it's not super wide. But I have this Acaia Cinco scale, which is also known as the Acaia Pixis, and there's a mode on here that allows you to basically auto start. So it will automatically start a timer in weighing the output of your coffee as soon as any drop of espresso hits that. I've noticed sometimes, I don't know what the reason is for this, but it's very, very frustrating when you have a $310 machine, a $250 scale, you put your cup on there, you're brewing a shot, and then something shakes a little bit, and then it stops your weight and it stops your time in the middle of a shot. I've had that happen to me a numerous amount of time, and it's very, very frustrating for $500 of gear. I don't know if I should blame the Flair on that, or if I should blame Acaia, or I should just blame myself because of using it falsely. But that is a very, very frustrating thing for the amount of that. And I think that has to do a little bit with the stability of it. Moving on from there is where I want to go into the accessories that kind of come with it. So we have, this is the brew head right here. It's got a pressure gauge. I do like the pressure gauge. I'm going to be a little bit nitpicky on this one, but this is just me. I have this problem everywhere. I have this problem with my iPad and Apple Pencil and other things. Is I'm left-handed. Therefore, when I'm pulling a shot with the Flair, I'm using the lever with my left hand. So when I am pulling, and I'm like kind of looking, my arm is in the way of looking at this pressure gauge, which makes it a little difficult to see. So I have to take the pressure gauge and I have to basically flip it upside down and turn it around, thus making the pressure gauge part upside down, and I'm reading it that way. However, it is still very readable and still very doable, and not everybody's left-handed, but that is a thought with it. This is still better than the majority of the manual espresso machines that I've used with a pressure gauge. This one is the easiest for me to read, and partly is because you can rotate this and it still works. So I can have this straight upwards, I can have it aside, things like that, but flipping it upside down on the other side is what has worked the best for me. But it's still annoying being left-handed and having that problem. There is no resolve to that. Like if they would have put it right here on this frame, it would have gotten in the way of the handle. Maybe they could have made a little bracket here that goes up and holds it up that way, but it's still, I don't know of a good solution to that. So I'm not going to give too much of a knock on them for the pressure gauge, but it is just kind of annoying having that. However, I can still read it, so that's still all right. The next thing is the brew head. The brew head comes in, I guess, 3 different pieces. This is the pressure gauge, the stem. Has this nice little silicone thing, so if you drop it, just don't drop it, but it will protect it a little bit for it. So this is what I love. This basket here is made by the company at the same manufacturer plant that VST makes their baskets out of. And VST is known as one of the higher end baskets that you can buy for portafilters for commercial grade machines. I have it on my heat exchanger machine in my kitchen, and this is just a huge thing to have in my opinion, entry-level machine. When it's at $310, it might sound like a lot to a lot of people, and there's cheaper ends of the Flair, but $310 is still pretty cheap when it comes to the world of espresso. But having that VST basket is huge and really beneficial. It sticks out just a little bit on the bottom, so when you're tamping on a table or tamping pad or whatever you have at home. It sits level and flush. It comes with this nice little dosing funnel. The dosing funnels are now black. They've changed the color a little bit, but that sits perfectly on the outside of it, so it doesn't get in the way of it at all. And I love this. This funnel has made making espresso a joy in the morning. That sounds crazy, but coming from multiple other different machines, spilling coffee on your table is not something you really want to do in the morning. And I typically grind with a hand grinder. This funnel makes it perfect fit for a Kinu M47 to just take that groundsman out, and it like knocks in there perfectly. Super easy to get all the grounds out of the Kinu, and it goes in flawlessly. I've used it on an air grind, and it does the same thing with that. It's just been a great joy to use this. You can even shove this on a Baratza 270 WI and actually grind straight into that. You can put it on a Breville Smart Grinder Pro and grind straight into that. It has been a joy using this simple funnel. As weird as that sounds, I've enjoyed it a lot. It's got a nice little stainless steel tamper. It fits well. I have no complaints or anything with this. There has been some people complaining, I don't even know if Flair fixed this, but there's an angle in this basket here, and that results in the tamper not going down all the way. That only is a problem for people who are doing very, very small doses. I've pretty much always done 18 grams or 20 grams. So that has not become a problem with me. But I think they resolved it. I don't even know. But either way, hasn't came with a problem with me. Next comes the dispersion screen. There's always controversial that if you look at any of the Brew with Flair Facebook groups or things like that that you can kind of view on that, the number one question is which side? Which side do you put down there? And the answer is it doesn't really matter. However, I typically put what I like to call the pretty side down. The reason for that is if I pull out any of my other espresso machines, it always looks more similar to that side. I'm going to put that up on camera a little closer and see if you can see it than that side. So I always put this side down first and have the non-pretty side up above. Again, it's not a big deal. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't really affect it, but that's how I've been doing it for years now, and I haven't had a problem with it. However, the only problem that I do have with it is after you brew your shot of coffee, you're going to have that in there, and you're going to need to get that out. So the best way to do it is simply I take my finger and I push it in on the side, which is really hard to do without coffee in there. But I just kind of push that up, and I can get the lip out and pull it off. And then this actually falls, the puck of this comes out really, really nicely in a knockbox. It maybe takes a couple of hits here and there, but it's not too bad. It's way, way easier to get out than the classic or the signature models of the Flair. So I really, really enjoyed this. Everything works out well. It does come with this little spout. So it just clips on here, and you can slap that on the brew head very, very easily. I've used the spout a few times, not a ton. It comes off really easily, really easy to use. I just don't use it. I've used it maybe a couple times traveling, so then I didn't have to worry about squirts and stuff going off in every direction and making a mess on the countertop. But usually I prep the puck well enough, and I distribute the grounds and all that stuff. So I usually come out with a pretty good stream of espresso anyway, and I don't really have to worry about spraying a ton. Next comes this little cap. The preheat method that was originally designed for this thing was simply put that cap on there, fill it up with water, and heat it up a couple times. Heating this thing is the biggest con, and I'm not going to complain too much about that because I don't have a solution for it. I couldn't tell them like, oh, do this and that's going to fix the problem. Preheating is very, very difficult. However, I have brewed at 19 degrees outside, and I didn't preheat this thing because it was cold, and I just didn't want to be out there longer because it was 19 degrees. And I did pull a I pulled a shot that I could drink. So it was okay. It wasn't great, but it did the job. So preheating, you're just supposed to fill this up and dump it a few times. I have this Stag EKG, and what I do is there's vent holes right here on the side of it. And what I do is I take this cylinder and I put it on top of the lid at a slight angle where it's covering up the vent holes. I then take the cap and actually I put it on the top of it, and that's how I preheat it. You can see I have a temperature strip that you can buy from Flair, and that kind of allows you to see how much you preheated it. And I'm usually always up into the 95 degrees Celsius or 203 degrees on the in Fahrenheit. I then take it out and I pull. So I basically set this to boiling point, and then when I take this off, I fill it back up using the same boiling water. So I never adjust the temperature. It's always on 212. The hotter you can get this thing, the better, and that is a very kind of a difficult thing to do. There's a lot of different hacks and people do. I found this personally the best way is to put it at an angle on my kettle. It makes the least amount of mess. It's the easiest thing to do. It's the easiest to pull off and remove. Some people put funnels in their kettle and pull it out that way. I find that kind of hard to get it out without burning your hand. The only problem that I have is it does fill up water on top of the kettle, but I dump that out in the sink and it's all right. The next thing, which most people don't really cover this in a review, but I'm going to because I think it's a huge deal, is cups. What cups can you fit underneath of this? Do you have the variety of cups? Is it going to work with a cup and a scale? And is it going to have the clearance for that? So this is what I'm going to do right here. I got my Akaya Pixis scale, which is one of the best ones to buy for the Flair. And I have this not neutral 12-ounce cup. This is a bigger cup than I typically use. I've fit a Husky cup underneath here that's 8 ounces. I fit a Stanley 8-ounce cup. I could not fit the Mir 8-ounce cup unless I hold it at an angle, but I can fit pretty much any not neutral cup. I can fit a lot of pretty much every fellow cup that I've used so far underneath of it fairly well. So as long as you line it up perfectly well, I have to have the scale slightly off and you have to watch the edge of that. This fits and gives plenty of clearance. The problem with clearance is right here. It's easy, like that gives you a lot of room if you went all the way up to the edge, but because of this little slant here, it makes it a little bit more difficult to get it on there because it's easy to put the cup in like this, and that's going to affect your scale and make it hard to brew with. So I found I can get it at just the right angle, and it does all right. So to kind of recap a little bit of this video, is this is a great machine. I've used it for years. I love it. We'll see how much I will continue to use this machine, and you'll understand what I'm talking about here in a couple months if you subscribe and check out what's coming soon, because I have some huge things in store. But this has been pulling better shots than the Breville Barista Express that I use, the Rancilio Silvia. I like the shots better out of this than the Rancilio Silvia, and it also beats my Nuova Simonelli Oscar 1 espresso machine. That's a heat exchanger that I kind of use for quickness and things like that. It does a great job. It makes good quality shots. There's not much that can go wrong with this. One of the huge things that is a big deciding factor when it comes to buying espresso machines and equipment is customer service. And I think the team at Flair has done a phenomenal job of that. I have messaged one of their customer service guys a lot on Facebook Messenger at obscured hours of the night, and he's super responsive and helping answer my questions and talking about things that are pros and cons of this machine and how to get the best out of it. They have a great community of like 5,000 or 6,000 people now, all brewing with different Flairs, so you can ask questions and get feedback that you need. So overall, this has a lot of usefulness of it. It's a little wobbly, but it's not as bad as it thinks. It's durable. I don't think this is gonna break on me anytime. I've had a Flair of some sort for 3 years now, and the only thing that I broke was a pressure gauge. And it was because I didn't allow the pressure gauge to heat up or something like that, because I was outside in freezing temperatures brewing a shot on the side of a canyon. So that was complete fault on my end of that. I've never had any issues with portafilters. I haven't even had to replace the O-ring. And the biggest thing about going manual is the fact that you have absolutely no maintenance. I have some, like I said, I have some single boilers, heat exchangers, thermo heat, whatever the Breville is. And I hate maintenance. I hate back flushing. I hate descaling. I hate making sure that there's no leaks and fixing a leak when that happens. This I just don't have problems with. I might have to pull out an O-ring here and there, but I'm on 2 years and I haven't even done that. This is a great machine. This does a great job, and I am happy to have owned it for so many years and done so much with it. So here's what I'm going to do is, coming up next, my next video that is going to be releasing on YouTube here soon after this, so please subscribe, is me putting on an attachment and basically superfying this Flair. I'm going to make it the best that this thing can be. Not very many people have this accessory, but I'm going to let you know, is it worth it? Is it worth the extra money? Is this going to be an end-all machine if you add this one accessory to it? Does this compete with something like a decent espresso machine or all these other things that you can pressure profile it with? You have so much control with the Flair, so much freedom with this thing. It is a great machine. I'm glad to have used it, and I hope this video helped you make a decision on whether or not you want to buy this machine. If you have any questions or concerns or comments or anything like that, let me know below, and I'd love to get back to you, and I'd love to help with this. Remember, please use the affiliate link if you want any accessories or want to buy a Flair. I'll make a little bit of commission at no extra charge for you. And please like and subscribe to this video so I can produce more content and help more people find the coffee gear that they need at home. Thank you for watching.